Hello, world. I'm Chris Pirillo, and I'm joined virtually by a handful of people who know way more than I do, which is great because it's good for me when I'm the dumbest person in the virtual room, and I'm absolutely the dumbest person in the room because I don't know anything about Bitcoin, and I know it's important to understand. I even have, this isn't a real Bitcoin, but I have a physical representation of what a Bitcoin might look like. It's a commemorative edition Bitcoin. And a few weeks ago, I was approached by, I guess, a friend, Joel, who had helped me with a Mac Mini problem I was having. He runs a computer repair service in Florida, and we'd been interacting for a while. And he came to me and he said, "Hey, Chris, would you be interested in possibly signing on a patron for your online video efforts? But this patron would be VeriCoin." And I was like, "Huh, okay, the world of cryptocurrency. Well, I guess it's worth a shot. Let's see what happens." And so VeriCoin.info is the website where you can go to for more information. They've been a patron now, and will hopefully continue to be a patron because we've just passed 900 patrons as of a few minutes ago. Very grateful for all the support. And part of this process is not just connecting with people that are of like mind, but also giving me a chance to kind of expand my understanding of things that I don't yet understand, including the world of Bitcoin. So I'm just going to go ahead and pop through the list of people. We're doing a live Google Plus Hangout, live on the internet. If you have any questions at any point during this broadcast, feel free to ask them on the YouTube page, which I'll be monitoring as a host of sorts for this particular broadcast. We hope to explain what Bitcoin is, as well as what VeriCoin is doing to kind of further the world of cryptocurrency and do more than what other altcoins have been doing. And in the research that I've done, in just light research, not to be confused with Litecoin, yeah, I know enough. I don't understand it all, but I know enough. So I'll basically pop through each name, let each person introduce themselves, and then we'll kind of roll forward. Let's go ahead and start with David, who's also in Seattle, although the other side of Seattle. David?
Hi, I'm David Bain. I'm known online as VeriCoin Dev 3. I'm a professional programmer and the person who's been working most heavily on Veribit and Verisend and the SMS wallet for anybody who's following the stuff that we're putting out.
And there are a few people, I'm sure. Every time I mention VeriCoin on Twitter, my feed explodes. So you guys have got an amazing...
That's good to hear.
No, trust me, I see a lot. Now, Douglas.
Yes.
Hello and welcome. Love the lamp. I love lamp.
Thank you. It's a decent lamp.
So your background then.
Okay. So I've really been in science for close to 10 years doing scientific research on molecular biological research, genetics, protein biochemistry, and biophysics. And in the last 5 years or so, I started doing computational scientific research, and basically now, at my day-to-day, like 40-hour week, I do about 40 hours of programming in C++. And me and Pat were really into and excited about cryptocurrency, but at the same time we saw a lot of limitations or constraints on the coins that we were involved in and interested in, and we wanted to make a coin that could bring together as many positive attributes as possible, be at the technological cutting edge, and also, hold the community in high regard, so that there's, a strong group of people that are connected to each other without too many issues, where everyone has a common goal, and we can just work hard and hope to bring cryptocurrency to as many people as possible, and by that advance human technological innovation and the future of humanity.
I love the fact that you use the word human in there. Well, I mean, but very frequently when we talk about technology, unfortunately, the humanity side of technology seems to get lost, and so it's good to hear you kind of reinforce the same way that I view technology, less of a destination and more of an enabler.
Right. Yeah.
It's fantastic. Joel, you're next in my list, so go ahead and introduce yourselves to the community.
Well, hi, how you doing, everybody? I'm Joel Bosch. I'm the owner of PC and Mac Wizard Service and other ventures in the crypto world. They know me as WizRig, I guess. But in the real life, I'm Joel, and I'm a patron of Chris Pirillo. I've been following Chris for like ever. I call him like a cousin. I tell him all the time, and I've been driving Chris crazy with crypto for like ever. Yeah, I'm just another person that watches Chris's blogs, and I'm the one that pretty much talked to him about Bitcoin, and I told him that I was gonna take this journey into Bitcoin, and he was like, and I was like, well, I'll talk to you in a few months, and I'll tell you if I'm alive, you know. And then I actually came back to him and told him pretty much my experience and talked to him about VeriCoin and all that. So I'm just happy that you have been so supportive in terms of like at least listening to me, and that says a lot. So I thank you, Chris, for your time and everything you've done, you know, to at least give me an ear, you know, in my crazy world of Bitcoin and VeriCoin. But I found this very exciting, you know, cryptocurrency, VeriCoin, and I did a lot of research on the guys that are behind it. I'm just really happy to be part of maybe some history making.
Yeah, and thank you for dragging me kicking and screaming into it.
It's kind of one of those counterintuitive things where it's like, what, like fake money? What's
yeah,
the,
I mean, well, I can understand and I can accommodate that, and hopefully we'll get into that. But first, let's go ahead and toss her over to Pat.
Hey guys, I can't believe I'm actually on YouTube on the internets. It's pretty cool. I guess I'll give you some of my background. My parents are both crazy PhDs, and it got me tinkering when I was a little kid. And since then, I've always wanted to play around with things. So when I was young, in high school, I started working on some projects. My dad invented a couple of things, and then eventually went to college, did some engineering stuff, didn't like that so much, really liked biology. So I decided when I graduated I wanted to go to graduate school, and I'm working on my PhD now in the same lab as Doug. And actually, Dave was my college roommate, so that's sort of how the connection works. Dave was a master programmer who would always, somehow he would get A's in all of his classes while watching TV on his second monitor. I don't understand how that happened. You know, I would be studying my organic chemistry, Dave would be sitting there watching Family Guy and somehow getting higher grades than me. But I saw what kind of programming he could do in college, and I figured, you know, this guy's going to be big one day. Now he's at a pretty small startup tech company in Seattle. That's a lie. He's at a pretty big company that you can figure out eventually. You know, as when I was in college, Bitcoin came out. I was very excited about it. But I noticed there were a lot of problems, like the transaction time and other issues that we tried to solve. And I got dug into Bitcoin after he saw me making some money mining Dogecoin. So I sort of went from Litecoin to Dogecoin to Blackcoin, and finally I decided, you know, we should make our own. We'll do it right. We'll do it, you know, a good job the first time. We'll make sure it's eco-friendly with proof of stake, and we'll throw some other really neat features that really the crypto world hasn't connected the general public to itself using these new features. So we added them ourselves, and we're sort of hoping to take VeriCoin to the next level.
It's fascinating. I was just, as I was listening to everybody introduce themselves, we've got a programmer, a scientist, an entrepreneur, and a tinkerer. Like, those are the words that I heard. And no, but it's a motley crew, and I don't mean the band reference necessarily. That dates me. I was definitely not in college. When I was in college, we had VHS tapes, and the internet was through a modem pool where you'd be lucky to connect at 2400 baud. So So let's go ahead, and I'm glad we've got a very diverse background. Although I might note that we have my communities. It's not as balanced as I would like it to be, but we have both males and females who are participating in chat right now. And some of the females are like, well, where are the females? And I'll let you guys address that. And I don't think that anything is being intentionally done, but I wanted to make note that Christine Liu is someone who's absolutely fascinated with the world of cryptocurrency, and I wanted to get her name in there, if only because she's fascinated with business models, has been for quite some time, and quite an enabler for entrepreneurs from around the world, has been trying to bridge the gap between the U.S. and China for quite some time, and she is fascinated with cryptocurrency. So I just wanted to say that there, as much balance as could possibly be out there, I think this is something that's fascinating for all, as Douglas had kind of staged, for all of humanity. Okay, so I'll throw this out to the panel, and maybe everyone's going to have a different way of explaining it. For someone who's heard the word, how would you explain Bitcoin to a 5-year-old? How would you explain Bitcoin to a child? That's the way I need it explained to me. And I'm not a child, just so you know, 40 years old, pushing 41, want to establish that. Go.
You guys want to take this one?
Okay.
I
know
can
Doug studied the white paper.
I'll take a shot.
Doug got
We
me.
can each take a shot at it. We can each take a shot at it.
Okay, sounds good.
I would say it's easy to hand over. It's money that's easy to hand to people. In a nutshell, and going deeper into that, it depends on how you define money. But basically, if you go back to hunter-gatherers, for instance, there was farmers that had certain crops at certain times of the year, and then there was hunters that had deer pelts and things like that. And if John has oranges and Dave has deer pelts, and they have them at opposite ends of the year, then the oranges are going to be bad by the time the deer pelts are around, and in the summertime you don't need deer pelts to protect yourself from the weather. So what ended up happening was they chose some store of value that could be passed to one another, that was independent of season, and that to me is what money is. It's a convenient store of value. So in that frame of reference, Bitcoin, cryptocurrency in general, is just a more efficient and convenient store of value than paper, and paper was more efficient and convenient than gold, and so on.
But we're talking then about just an exchange of value, an agreed upon value for one object versus the next.
Yeah, and in my opinion, that's what money is. It's a note. It's a promissory note of that this note is going to be accepted at a certain value by the majority, and that's so. If you define money in that context, then digital currency is basically just a more efficient, a more convenient method.
Good definition. All right, who wants to try to tackle Bitcoin next?
I can throw my 2 cents in.
Go for it.
So normal money is guaranteed to have value by the government. It's their job to make sure nobody fakes it, that it's being passed around for real, and that that it has some value, that you can trade it for something. Whereas in Bitcoin's case, it doesn't have a central authority that distributes it, that creates new ones, that prints it. For Bitcoin, everybody using it are the people who prevent fraud through cryptographic maths that I won't go into. You can basically guarantee that everybody agrees that I gave you money, and there's no way for me to pretend I didn't. So when I finish giving you the money, we all publish it out, and everybody in the world who's using it, guarantees that really happened, and that you didn't do it yourself and just claim that I gave you the money.
So effectively, our traditional thinking when it comes to currency, or quote unquote money, it's a centralized model where we're going through one particular unit versus this new world of quote unquote cryptocurrency. And I'll appreciate a definition or a further definition of that, because anytime I hear the word crypto, I go, huh? Like the dog, like, huh? And I don't mean Doge necessarily. I don't want a Dogecoin. The decentralized model of transactions, I think, is what you're kind of alluding to. So that if I say, if I did something right now where I said I gave you money, there's no way of necessarily verifying that. In Bitcoin or in the world of cryptocurrency, there's absolutely a way to verify it, and that's what the blockchain is for.
Exactly. The act of giving me that money verifies it and publishes it out to the blockchain. And since everyone can see the blockchain, they know that you no longer have the money you just gave me, and that I now have it.
As opposed to just being some mysterious, ethereal, the money's there, and I gave it to you, and you now have it. Well, I don't have it.
Exactly. It's all recorded in that blockchain.
Okay, and the blockchain is effectively the series of every single transaction that a coin or a cryptocurrency might have had?
Exactly. It's the list of every single transfer of money.
So this sounds like, to me, the world of cryptocurrency, I mean, just to generalize it, because Bitcoin is synonymous with cryptocurrency. Bitcoin kind of was the first one, and then every other altcoin or other kinds of cryptocurrency has kind of been following in its footsteps. Cryptocurrency is almost like, now I understand why people have been heralding it as a future model for currency, if only because it seems I don't really have a stake other than the VeriCoin that I have in my wallet right now. I have almost 5,000 VeriCoin, which is, can I retire now? Is it ready? Am I good? Am I done? To me, I understand why they're saying this is the future, because if it's safer, if it's decentralized, if it's not going through any one institution that does not have transparency, it's almost like open source currency of sorts. Well, I guess that's what it is.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a currency where you can see all transactions. The trick is that you just don't know. If I give you money, I give it to your address, and I don't necessarily know that you're associated with that address.
Well, and I'm sure we'll definitely, and that's good. I mean, if only for privacy concerns. And I'm sure we'll get into, or potentially get into, talking about security issues that might be abound, problems that might arise. And of course, I think some of the bigger hurdles are already being overcome in the sense that I get frustrated as someone who uses a certain kind of credit card when I go to a restaurant and say, do you take this credit card? They say, no, we don't. You have to give us another credit card. That frustrates me. And I guess it would probably be the same for any vendor who might take money to be able or want to accept a certain kind of cryptocurrency, which at this point, 9 times out of 10, that's going to be Bitcoin. So it seems like any altcoin player almost has to interoperate with Bitcoin at some level. Correct?
That's definitely the case.
Okay. Well, and you got. What I'm trying to do is synthesize the information I've seen out there, and you're explaining to me a little further, and if only to clarify for myself to make sure my brain's on the right track.
I'll say one quick comment that kind of, for me, simplifies it, and that is that Bitcoin, digital currency, is in my opinion the democratization of money. And once people experience something that's more fair, they're not going to want to
more fair
go back
in terms
to
of
something
what,
that's less fair.
Sure, but more fair in terms of what? And just before you answer that, and I understand where you're going, I just want to make everybody aware that nobody here is wearing tinfoil hats. You're not.
No.
It's
basically just it's less vulnerable to the weaknesses of human nature. I would say it that way.
That's fair, because it's computer.
Yeah, it's more unbiased.
All right, Pat or Joel, I don't know if you have a further definition.
If you don't mind, I have a little comparison of Bitcoin to how transactions are handled now. So this is one big reason I really like Bitcoin. And Bitcoin was created by Satoshi right after the big stock market crash of 2008, which also corresponded really well to these banks failing. And the whole idea behind these banks failing was they were loaning money that they didn't have, and the people that were supposed to repay that money weren't able to. And one reason for that is because of credit cards, for example. When you say you're going to give someone money, then you don't have it. You can basically say someone took my card and then get a chargeback, and basically there's this lack of trust. And what the credit card processors do, and all the credit card processors are tied to a bank in some way, they have this ability to say, okay, merchant, if you pay me 3% or 2.9% of your fees of your total sale, I will process your credit card transaction. I'll validate it as something that actually happened, and I'll make sure, I'll show you that it happened, and we'll record it in a log, and we'll mark it against the person who bought its account, and all will be good. And that's fine. The system worked great for years, except it's really easy to take advantage of. I have $70,000 of credit card limit, which doesn't make any sense for someone making $30,000 as a graduate student. But if I wanted to, I can max it all out. I could declare bankruptcy, and then boom, I have $70,000 worth of stuff. Yeah, maybe they'll be able to reclaim some of it, but not all of it. And those credit card companies are going to get screwed. The magic of Bitcoin allows a distributed transaction database, a ledger, basically a QuickBooks that's spread among everyone, where everyone can see how much your account got and how much your account sent, and it'll know if you don't have any money, and it'll know if you do have money. And there's no way for you to scam the system. There's no way you could say, oh, credit card company, I didn't spend that money, because the only person that could have spent that money is you. There's no way to get a chargeback. You don't have any of those problems. And instead of paying a 2.9% transaction fee, you pay a fee that, for VeriCoin, for example, is less than 1/10 of a cent, something really, really minimal. And that 1/10 of a cent scales up to if you send $1 million in VeriCoin in one transaction, because you're using this distributed database of everyone using it. And Bitcoin's the same way. It's a little bit more expensive of a fee for Bitcoin right now, but the point is you get rid of the central service. They don't make their tons of money. They don't make bad investments based on these loans, because they can't exist in the Bitcoin world. And you increase the security of the financial sector. You decrease the ability for scammers, and you basically make the whole money system really efficient. And I think really the beauty of Bitcoin lies in that. The fact that you can have a system where everyone validates everyone else. You don't have one guy making all the money and then one day saying to the government, oh no, we need you to bail me out. You just don't have that. And places where it's really useful, I think, are places where economies are not very good. And actually, I have an example of an economy which was terrible, and Bitcoin would have really helped their problems. This is a $10 trillion bill for Zimbabwe. The reason this exists is because Zimbabwe had extreme deflation or extreme inflation for a few-year period, where they had to create 3 different currencies because their old currency was so worthless. And when you have something that ties the whole world together like Bitcoin or like VeriCoin, you don't need to deal with the risks of that. You can't have a corrupt government just printing infinite money. And that's another problem Bitcoin solves, and indirectly VeriCoin. And this whole concept really got Doug, I, and Dave really excited when we got into it. And this is sort of one of our ambitions, to get something like this throughout the world that's useful to everyone. And that's what I really think is the magic of Bitcoin and the Bitcoin-like currencies.
So that's and it may be, and Joel, if you have anything to add, I can toss it over to you. But I mean, it's a good segue really to talk about not just beyond Bitcoin, what VeriCoin is doing that's different from all the other altcoins, because what I've tended to see in terms of patterns is an altcoin will get big and then peter out, and then it's gone. Like in terms of value or anything that might have worked with it, the velocity is gone. So I am curious to pursue that topic of conversation, that course of conversation. What would make VeriCoin different? Or is this just another altcoin that is going to capture people's attention? Some people are going to make a lot of money and then on to the next altcoin. So
yeah, that's where I guess that's where I come into this. As you know, all this altcoins, they have communities. So as a community member, one of my concerns was exactly what you just said. The coins go up, then they go down for a whole bunch of different reasons. Some reasons are really, really bad. Other ones are not so bad, and other ones I can't explain. But what I gathered was that, and I'm going to just be honest, some people just make a coin because they're trying to understand how this whole thing works. So it's kind of like a project. So they start working on a project, they start it up, and then they kind of just let it go for whatever reason, and they move on to the next project. And people actually get behind that project by putting their money. And sometimes, you know, the project goes, sometimes it doesn't. And it gets to a point where some people are like, well, maybe this is time for me to move on to another project. So I saw a lot of people doing that. And then for me, I also saw that developers or people that were making these coins were not really committed only to a certain point. One of the things that I saw with VeriCoin at the beginning, there were some challenges, you know, and I saw this developers just constantly just working on these challenges. They were just like working, and I was like, you know what? Anybody would have just given up.
What challenges? When you speak of challenges, again, neophyte here.
There was there was a challenge that they were experiencing with the. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, good. The challenge that they were experiencing at the beginning were a wallet challenge. Basically, because VeriCoin runs on pause, there was probably some challenges on the wallet syncing. Yeah, pause.
I'm gonna cut in there.
Go ahead, David.
We work on proof of stake. So
Yeah.
the way Bitcoin works and the way a lot of coins work is you do some hashing of the blockchain. So the process of verifying the blockchain is you do a proof of work, and that's you do a bunch of the stuff. That's what you have people when they say they're mining. That's them just putting out many hashes, and that's how you generate the chain. We have something different called proof of stake, where you, instead of just doing all these hashes through your GPU, your video card,
like Litecoin.
Yeah. So we have a much easier thing to do, but in order to do it, you have to prove that you have coins already. So as part of that, it's called a proof of stake, that you have stake in the coin. So it's very easy to do, but you can only do it if you have coins, which means it's guaranteed to be distributed out amongst everybody who owns coins. So in order to attack it, you would have to own 51% of the coins.
Okay, so how's that more? I'm sorry, Joel. I'm not trying to circumvent you, but one question leads to 15 others. Why is the POS what was it? Proof of stake?
Yes.
How is that more valuable or different from what we might have seen in other altcoins?
So there are other altcoins that have it. The main benefit is that it's harder to attack. So basically, as people are mining, if you're doing 51% of the mining of Bitcoin, you can put in any transaction you want onto the chain because you form a majority, and the blockchain is majority vote basically. With proof of stake, not only would you have to own 51% of the mining, you'd also have to already own 51% of the coins.
And so mining is effectively a way that coiners are able to generate more coin, correct?
So mining is the process of putting new transactions onto the blockchain. Okay. And as a reward for doing that, we give you a little bit of interest.
So can then VeriCoin be mined?
Not directly. It only can, as you leave your wallet open, your wallet is signing new transactions into the chain. And as a reward for doing that, you get interest.
Okay, so the wallet then, the software that I download is the wallet.
Yes.
Gotcha. Okay. That makes a little more sense. So Joel, I'll come back to you
and
then.
That wallet has to connect in the whole chain.
Sure.
Perfect.
Sure. So then, I mean, you had been experimenting, Joel, with yourself and your own money with not just Bitcoin, but all sorts of altcoins. What was it that VeriCoin, what really caught your attention that they were doing above, let's say, the bigger known coins like Litecoin, Blackcoin, Dogecoin? What were VeriCoin doing?
Right. Well, Well, for me, and that's why I want to go back to the wallet issue. You know, I was paying attention. I pay attention to all the coins, and usually when things get tough, people just walk away or they just dump stuff,
Uh,
die or something. And I just saw these people just working and working and working, and I said, "These people are gonna. They're. Can you hear me? Okay, these people get it. These people are gonna get it. You know, if they get it, they're gonna earn my trust. I'm gonna be very honest with everybody because that means that they're really in for the long term. And
you're kind of popping in and out, Joel. But I think I get what you're saying.
the whole
And
network was running smooth.
so effectively, sorry, Joel, you're kind of in and out. But what you're saying is effectively, and I don't mean to talk this is a little rude, talking about people in front of people, but that what VeriCoin was doing or is doing is effectively addressing problems that seem to have been and continue to be inherent with other altcoins as well as Bitcoin proper, correct? I mean, is that fair to say? To the VeriCoin crew even. Is that what your mission is?
Yeah, we're trying to improve what was already there. You know, we're not first. There's no way, you know, I'm not smart enough to have thought about Bitcoin or cryptocurrency myself without any inspiration from Satoshi. But there are a lot of issues with Bitcoin, I think, that we're trying to solve. One of which is really the high energy consumption required for this proof of work mining. Another is the slow transaction time. You know, who wants to sit around for an hour for your block for your transaction to confirm? All these things we're trying to solve. So I guess, you know, I'm not exactly sure what Joel was trying to say, but we are trying to fix issues that we see in other cryptocurrencies. That's not to say there aren't other great ones. There are, you know, plenty of other ones. I think one of the reasons, you know, I don't know if Joel's ever going to be back, but one thing he mentioned to me was he just didn't really trust a lot of the other coins that he invested in because the developers are sort of just these guys hidden. You know, they have a username online and they're that username, but there's no real person behind it. You can't call them up, you can't email them, all that stuff. And
Yeah.
one thing we really went out of the way to do was we wanted people to know we're here, we're behind the coin. We wouldn't put our faces online if we were going to make the coin, make tons of money, and sell it all. You know, it's not to say we're not going to sell any. You know, I just had to pay a $500 hosting fee for all the supernodes that were running to run the VeriCoin network. And, you know, it was sad, but we ran out of our donation fund today or a couple days ago, so I had to sell 2,000 of my own coins to support the servers. But, you know, I think one thing Joel liked, and maybe you can, now that you're back, go into it more, I think the whole fact that we're transparent and we're doing everything and we're tweeting about it, we're talking about it on the forums, we're talking about it when people email us, we get back to them pretty fast. A few people actually even know my phone number and have called me. We're really trying to be completely open, and we're trying to get VeriCoin to be the cryptocurrency everyone wants to use.
Okay, why would then, and Joel, feel free to interrupt me now, why would someone want to use VeriCoin over, say, Bitcoin at this stage?
I can talk as a merchant.
Okay.
I can only talk as a merchant because I obviously own, you know, Mac and PC Wizard. For me, the transaction time, you know, it just confirms way faster, you know. So when I send VeriCoin, I mean, I see it in the wallet like in seconds, you know. And obviously when you're trying to process a credit card, well, you can't have the customer there waiting 10 minutes for a confirmation. They have come out with other, you know, like POS systems that Bitcoin goes through the POS merchants, and then you will have to buy like a machine to maybe kind of like, you know, take it in like credit card. But in VeriCoin, with the wallet, the way they have it working, it's just so fast that, I mean, it attracted me as a merchant. Like it would be something that I would accept, you know, in my business. If somebody had VeriCoin and they paid me, I know in 8 seconds I'll see it, or, you know, whatever minute, I'll see it right away, and I'll be happy that I got the funds pretty quick.
So then it seems to me and I think we're seeing this a bit with Bitcoin, that for it to take off, I mean, the systems have got to get easier. I mean, it's got to become a lot more user-friendly. And then, of course, dealing with merchants. I mean, to be able to it's like taking another form of a credit card, effectively. You know, what would VeriCoin be doing to kind of, I mean, apart from, improving the process and improving the transaction time, what's VeriCoin doing to kind of bridge that gap, or plan on doing, to bridge that gap between people who are very familiar with the world of cryptocurrency and the people who aren't, the people who just see a piece of plastic and know that they can buy things with it?
I'll comment on this first, and then I'm sure others can too. But one of the ways we're tackling that issue is, it is a major constraint. One of the ways we're tackling that issue is through our SMS protocol. So essentially, you can have a cell phone from 1990 something, and if it receives SMS text messages, you can receive VeriCoin from almost anyone in the world. We have gateway numbers set up all over the world that you can communicate with via your cell phone to send and receive VeriCoin. So essentially, you don't have to have a computer to receive and to send VeriCoin. Obviously, if you do have a computer, you can do more things more easily. But it's as simple as receiving VeriCoin is someone sending VeriCoin to a phone number, and if that person doesn't have a wallet for their phone or for their computer, they've never touched digital currency, never even knew what it was, automatically a wallet address will be generated for them and associated with their phone number, and then they can send it on to a merchant or someone else or whatever, or hold it. So that's one of the big ways we're tackling that issue.
I'd just like to interject that the SMS wallet is still very much in beta, and it needs to be expanded to more texting services. So if anybody's watching and they want to use it, heads up that our current texting service is a little flaky in giving us the actual messages. No coins will ever be lost, but you might not get a response back.
So there are, and thank you for that disclaimer. I appreciate that. Certainly.
No, yeah, just to say, be clear. No coins will be lost at all. It's just you might not get a response.
Fair enough. There are a couple of people I watch chat regularly, and they didn't quite put a finer point on what they were interjecting, but they were suggesting there are ways to do transactions fast with Bitcoin or BTC, OMG, and then we have another person saying these people are so ignorant when it comes to Bitcoin. So do you care? That's their voice, by the way. Yeah. So would you care to address that?
So Bitcoin has so every cryptocurrency has something called a block time, and a block time is how long it takes for a block to be made. And a block is the information that stores all the transactions since the last block. Bitcoin's block time is 10 minutes. So that's 600 seconds. That means there's no way to confirm a transaction faster than that. Now, maybe if you do the transaction right before that block is found, then you'll be lucky and it'll be fast. But you're always going to have to wait for a few of these blocks to be confirmed, as in a few of these blocks being made, and each one takes 10 minutes for you to really be certain that it's a true transaction. Now, VeriCoin, we programmed the block time to be 60 seconds, so 1 minute. It turns out that there's so many people staking their coin right now that the blocks are actually being found a little bit faster than that. So I think the average has been about 50 seconds, which is much, much faster than Bitcoin. So, they can say, yeah, you can do it faster than that. Maybe you can see it on the network. Maybe you can see your client will say you receive some Bitcoin, but there's no way to be sure that transactions are going to go through. And you can go talk to Mt. Gox about that, because they claimed they had millions of dollars in Bitcoin stolen because they weren't trusting the transactions properly. So, there's no way for Bitcoin to be as fast as VeriCoin is, just by the nature of the blockchain and how we have it set up. So, I would say that user's a little bit mistaken.
So then, again, I'm playing devil's advocate here. I obviously want VeriCoin to succeed because, I've got almost 5,000 VeriCoin now. I watch like every 5 minutes. Oh, I gained interest. I'm making VeriCoin without doing anything. That's awesome.
Have you received any of the show, by the way?
I have. It looks like I've received 5 VeriCoin and 30 VeriCoin during the course of this show.
Very
So
nice, guys. Make sure to tip Chris at some of your VeriCoin. It's amazing.
I don't know. It's fascinating to me, but I'll go back to some of these questions that are coming in, and there are a few pretty good ones here. One person said, but VRC, which is I guess is your term. Sorry, I've got my periwinkle marker here as I was writing things down for myself. You need Bitcoin to succeed. Is that accurate?
Maybe we did it first, but soon, by July 4th, we're going to have the ability for people to buy and sell VeriCoin for US dollar, including credit card. And I know I've been watching the YouTube chat a little bit too. People are saying, how are you going to do this? What about chargebacks and stuff? Well, we're not doing it ourselves. We're not credit card processors. We're not money exchangers. But there's a company we've been working with who has jumped on board to help us with VeriCoin. Not the code per se, but help make VeriCoin a little more aware, make people more aware of it. And they have supposedly, they say they're going to have credit card support very soon, where people can buy and sell using credit cards, and they have some mechanism of validating, and making sure there won't be any, or at least if there won't be many chargebacks. Maybe insurance. I have no idea how it's going to work, but we're going to implement a way to do that in the VeriCoin wallet itself. So at that point, I don't think we're going to be at all dependent on Bitcoin. Technically, of course, people are probably going to still tie it to Bitcoin because Bitcoin has a market cap way bigger than any other altcoin. But this sort of sets the stage for VeriCoin to be its own thing. No longer is VeriCoin going to be a fork of Bitcoin or something related to Bitcoin. VeriCoin is going to be its own thing, and people will be able to use it in its own way. We won't depend. When Mt. Gox got hacked, that probably would have upset the VeriCoin price a lot. That won't be a problem when
Why?
we're decoupled. When
Why?
we're decoupled, why won't it be a problem?
Yeah.
Well, because Mt. Gox didn't handle VeriCoin, and they didn't handle any other altcoin.
Wait, you can't just say that. That's like saying it's not going to happen because it's me. I mean,
More specifically, he means that previously the only way you could buy VeriCoin was with Bitcoin. Bitcoin's the kind of de facto currency of coin trade.
Sure.
But once we have direct VeriCoin to US dollar, you don't need to go through Bitcoin anymore. We don't depend on the price of Bitcoin anymore for people to buy it.
Yeah, but Bitcoin has got, I mean, they're leading the industry as far as a cryptocurrency industry is concerned. Why would someone want to spend money on VeriCoin over Bitcoin? I mean, Bitcoin's accepted everywhere, quote unquote.
Here's some really quick reasons. One, we have released a technology called Veribit, which lets you spend VeriCoin for Bitcoin. So if you want to buy something from Overstock.com, for example, you can click a button that says Pay in Bitcoin. They'll give you a Bitcoin address and amount of Bitcoin to send them, and then all you do is you simply enter that into our Veribit service, which is on the vericoin.info site. You enter in the Bitcoin address and the amount, and it will tell you send so-and-so VeriCoins to this address. Once you send them, within 20 minutes, Veribit will pay Overstock.com the exact amount of Bitcoins you need, and boom, you bought what you wanted. So yeah, technically they still need Bitcoin, but we've decoupled that from really being something anyone needs to see. And in fact, in the next wallet update, you'll be able to do that directly from the wallet. So there's really no reason to require Bitcoin once VeriCoin grows bigger. Right now it's a little young, so we're able to leverage the fact that Bitcoin has this whole list of companies that accept it. But once that's done, once people start believing in VeriCoin and companies start accepting VeriCoin, it's not going to matter. Bitcoin is going to be, not irrelevant, but it's not going to be necessarily relevant for how VeriCoin can be spent.
So I'll make a correlation, and then I've got a couple of other pretty good questions from the community here, including some names I'm familiar with. What, and I'll go back to even what one of our scientists said, Doug. One of the things, I stopped backing any kind of tech related or hardware or software related Kickstarter project or crowdfunding project. I'll back media projects, but I won't back a hardware or software project, not because I don't believe in the idea, but because I don't believe in the people, or I don't believe they're going to execute, or inevitably I know they can't pull it off. So to me, what seems to be a bigger value add, with VeriCoin as a cryptocurrency, an altcoin, an alternative to Bitcoin, is the fact that you guys are taking the more human approach. At least we can trust you, as well as you're putting your faces and your names out there, which is more than other people might. Is this for you, as this continues to grow? I mean, it's great to talk about altruistic missions, but what's the end game? I mean, the true end game with VeriCoin.
An excellent question. Doug, do you have any input on that one?
I think I don't know that there necessarily is an end game. I think the goal is to make exchanging money between individuals more fair and more convenient and more efficient, and cost less fees that are paid to centralized institutions that may or may not do good things for society or for the consumers. Essentially, the goal with VeriCoin is to continue the mission forward, and that mission, was definitely launched by Bitcoin, and in some ways, Bitcoin will always have a very special and elite status because it was the thought child of Satoshi Nakamoto, whoever he or they are, and it basically began what I would consider to be something along the lines of financial reformation, and ultimately that process, I think, is going to benefit humanity in numerous ways. We're basically just trying to move that ball forward in whatever ways we see possible, and we're trying to do it with a lot of motivation and passion to succeed at that. As Pat was saying, there's some limitations with Bitcoin. One of the reasons is because it was the first digital currency, so they had to essentially be conservative with the parameters because they didn't know how long it was going to take for the network to communicate with itself, over across the world, especially in an older internet, not too much older, 2009, but in technology that can be significant difference. So there's a lot of factors that go along with that. We're just really trying to move the ball forward.
So effectively, and I think I understood this after, and Patrick, thank you. I think you tweeted a link to this tool you were talking about that could translate VeriCoin into Bitcoin in beta, and someone basically ordered a pizza online, and I watched the process of, because I admit it, I've never purchased anything with an alt currency. I have 0 Bitcoin. I have altcoin now. Apart from this little metal thing, I have no Bitcoin. And I watched the person basically insert their hash in like a string of is it hexadecimal?
Yeah, it's a hexadecimal address.
Okay, so it's what it seemed to be. So he inserted the string, and it's like entering a credit card.
It's not actually hexadecimal.
Oh, it isn't.
All right, it's a
base 50.
34 character base 58 address, but
fantastic.
Just saying.
Okay, cool. No, hey, you guys are I told
similar.
you at the beginning of the video, I was the idiot. I'm an English major, okay? The fact that I know my numbers, like 1 through 9, including 0, like that's a big deal for me, okay? I passed economics class in high school with a B-, because the teacher allowed me to take a retest, and I memorized the order of the answers, the answer in association with the letter and the question. So it was only through memorization that I passed with a B- in economics. So the fact that I'm even talking about this right now it's a big leap for me. You got to understand. So I saw him basically enter in the string of alphanumeric characters. And so that's what it was like. It's like, oh, okay, so it's like entering in a credit card number. You just have to make sure you have enough credit or enough, value in that account.
I think it's closer to a debit card, but yeah.
Okay, so debit. Thank you. Well, I'm someone who doesn't live in debt, so I other than a mortgage, I try to, not be on a revolving any kind of. I don't want to owe my life to anybody. So, I do understand that, and thank you for the clarification. But yeah, after I saw that example, it made a lot more sense to me. Like, okay, so it's like a debit card. That, I mean, effectively. So would VeriCoin then be? Would you ever want to go that route with helping make this whole process easier? Like, not just making something more tangible for people to understand, not just cryptocurrency, because I don't think that's a word that's ever going to take off beyond the nerd block. That's the block of people who actually understand what the hell is going on. How are you going to make it more user friendly for people? Either I got dropped
You
or
guys,
everyone's on mute, or it
you
was a
guys,
really good question.
yeah. See, everyone's been muting their mic except for me. So
Oh,
I guess I could start off. Well, there's a lot of things we're working on. We haven't really talked too much about these because they're sort of we like to be like ninjas. We don't like to drop everything we have all at once because it's more fun to do it this way, and it kind of screws with people, which I think is funny. Um, it's kind of a weird way to operate, but we are working on SMS really brings is the most utilitarian of wallets because everyone has a cell phone, no matter what continent you're on. You pretty much have something. Uh, Maybe you have to type in with the keys 0 through 9 and the pound sign and the asterisk sign, but anyone can use VeriCoin now. All of our texting gateways, except text messages from around the world, they're all international capable. So anyone, even if we don't have one in your country, as long as you can text an international number, you can talk to our VeriCoin servers. Now, it's not particularly easy to use yet. You have to type in, a 34-character capital V, little v, characters. And
I don't even like entering a credit card number, and those are just numbers.
yeah, and I don't know if you remember what a phone that has, alpha typing is like, but
oh right, T9.
It's no, before T9, when you have to triple tap on a number to get the letter you want.
I still remember rotary dial. So
yeah, okay, you're not old enough for that, but it's still not easy yet. So that's why we're working on some other projects. So we have a developer that has a working Android wallet that is getting approved for the Android App Store, and it leverages our SMS wallet system, so there'll be no staking. It's pretty simple, but it works. So hopefully we have the big Android market there.
I love how it's pretty simple, but it works. No, you don't understand. Like, just in that one sentence, it's pretty simple, but it works. That's it. It's simple. It works.
Genius. Yeah, no, it's great. It's not feature packed or anything. Like I said, you can't stake, you can't earn interest, but you can store your VeriCoin in there. You can send your VeriCoin. There's really the only limitation is you're not getting an interest. And really, okay. Do you really want to hold, potentially in a few years, $100,000 of VeriCoin on your cell phone? Probably not. It's probably safer to have that on a USB drive in a wallet that isn't attached to the internet. But the ability to have some on there, like you would in your wallet in your back pocket, makes it really useful when companies start accepting VeriCoin. And we have a developer working on some Android stuff, and an iOS developer who's working on using near-field communication to transfer money. And
yeah.
NFC kind of is a not alive yet in the U.S. I use Google Wallet once ever, but the fact that it exists and that other countries are using is good, and maybe one day people will start accepting stuff there. Probably most importantly, though, is the fact that a company called Moolah, which is based in the UK, added VeriCoin support to a series of ATMs they're releasing. And actually, I sort of on a whim spent all of my free money that I had in my savings account on a new Moolah ATM that will be able to pay out in VeriCoin, and you'll be able to put cash in, US dollars, and it will award you VeriCoin that it can either email you or it can print out onto a paper wallet, which is something you can scan it on your computer. Or you can take your VeriCoin, you can send it to that machine, and it can pay out dollar bills. So really, it turns it into something that, as long as you have fingers that can press things, you can start getting and trading VeriCoin. And there's going to be, I think they sold somewhere around 20 ATMs. They're going to be scattered around the world for now. Not too many. They won't be able to compete with Bank of America yet, but it's something. It's the first step. And anyone here that's in the New Jersey or New York area can use mine. I'm going to put it somewhere where people can touch it. But yeah, there's huge potential, and cryptocurrencies are so new. It's kind of crazy to expect them to be big enough to even have ATMs. But we're there. It's going to take a few more years for you to be able to go to one in your local convenience store. But I think it's time.
I think there's one in Seattle. I have not been to one. Well, like I said, I mean, what would I do? I'm like, here, I'm going to check my no Bitcoin. All right, okay, I've checked, I'm good. There is one in the Seattle area, but other than cool, and I think that's the for me, it's like I'm driving by and going, oh, well, that's interesting, because there hasn't been that practical. What can I use it for? What's the value? And so vendors like Overstock.com or vendors that I might support on a regular basis, they providing context for the reason for something like this to exist. I think you're right, Pat. Is it Pat or Patrick? I heard you introduced. I think.
Yeah,
Doug?
Pat's fine.
Okay.
Pat's shorter.
Okay, fantastic. My full name is not Chris, but Chris is just it because it's easier to spell. It's that context that ultimately I think is going to serve as the catalyst for people really kind of latching onto it. So I think you're right in driving towards that in terms of usability. Anybody is free to jump in, but I do have a question from the community. But Doug, you unmuted.
Yeah, I was just going to add one quick point. I think that as digital currency moves forward, one of the big challenges is going to be making it very, very accessible. And once it is, the potential will be amazing. But to some extent, there like we've said, it's in certain ways it's not accessible, and we're really trying to make it more and more accessible. But I think the next wave of innovations is going to be on that front. The beauty is you don't necessarily have to depend on the current technologies. Like, you don't have to have a card. You know what I mean? Like, although that's what people are used to, there could be solutions that are even simpler, even more intuitive than having a credit card, for instance, or a debit card, that could be implemented in the future. I think the exciting thing is that we don't have to go back. We can go forward, and I think it's going to be very interesting to see how.
And with sorry to interrupt, but with the wallet, Patrick, I'm not too sure. Will there be the QR code? Scan the QR code and that will automatically maybe input the address. So
yeah, are you talking about for Android and iOS?
Yeah, but so that Chris knows, I think, right?
Yeah. So yeah, QR codes are going to be supported. I don't know. We're not the developers of this wallet, but yeah, that is something that I was told is being implemented. So yeah, you're not going to need. NFC is really easy, but most phones don't have an NFC yet. QR is definitely probably the most accessible option in that regard. Another thing I forgot to mention, Moolah has these really cool RFID cards, NFC cards that you can use. Instead of inserting your ATM card into the terminal, you just swipe this card near it. It'll pull up all your balances if you have them stored on the Moolah server, which makes it really easy. Basically they're a world. I guess Bank of America's around the world, but basically they're the same thing, except you store your stuff on a blockchain, and instead of Bank of America charging fees to use an ATM, they don't charge anything because it's this decentralized blockchain system.
So one question here from Ryan Matthew Pearson, and I've known Ryan for quite some time. He's quite familiar with this world. Entrepreneur Mark Cuban said that Bitcoin and other cryptocurrency will never be a currency recognized, but it has its place. Could you explain what you think its place is, if not as quote-unquote money? If that makes sense to you.
You want to take this one, Doug? Do you have you an idea?
I don't subscribe to that viewpoint. I think that it's more along the lines of what people thought of the internet in the early 1990s. They're like, why do you have telephone cord connected to your computer and you're like sending messages to people like, why, what are you doing? And then and then it blew up and changed, essentially changed the paradigm, the technological paradigm. I think it's more along those lines. I think that'll become more clear to people as they learn more about digital currency. And someone who I would cite that subscribes to this viewpoint is Mark Andreessen, essentially the inventor of the web browser.
Took NSCA Mosaic to Netscape and beyond.
Right.
Was that? Hang on. I remember using it. It was it NCSA. I always mess up the acronym. Yeah, NCSA Mosaic. Dude, the first time I used the web was on links. So, I mean, my first image that I viewed was like an image in like little. It said image. That's what it was. Image. Like that's what I saw. The word image. That was it.
Right.
You couldn't click anything. You tapped through it, but that was. I mean, you gotta use your imagination. Let me just tell you, adult websites were different back then. Like, oh my God, like look at that image. Oh, it's just image.
Wait, did it just say the word adult?
Well, I mean, in terms of like adult situations like balancing the checkbook or making sure you get to bed on time. Adult situations.
Yeah, you were just reminding me of that Simpsons scene where Homer or one of the comic book guys sitting and he's waiting for his modem to load some boobies or something, and his connection dies right then because Homer's like controlling the whole internet or something in Springfield.
That's where he's Mr. X.
Oh yeah, right, Mr. X.
Oh, it's been so long.
Yeah. So I actually have something to say about that question, if you don't mind. So it's a really good point. Will cryptocurrencies be a real currency? And it's really hard to tell right now because the rich people don't want to not be rich anymore, and the banks are the rich people. They want people to use them so they can get their fees. The government wants their tax money, and when you sort of make things harder to track, it really makes it difficult for these people to do that. The government has released some tax information on Bitcoin, but it's really traded more like a stock. It's considered more like a stock kind of currency, and are they ever really going to allow it to do real things? I don't know. There's the government seems to be run by these people who are funded by campaign donations, and they do things that the people that donate to them want. And the banks have a lot of U.S. dollar behind them, and they can really push for banning these things. We all know what happened in China. They banned Bitcoin, and the Bitcoin price crashed. It's really something that is very possible. The other thing is, they can't actually control it. They can say, okay, you can't convert to U.S. dollar, but what does that matter? If you start selling things directly in Bitcoin, then U.S. dollar doesn't really matter anymore, right?
Right. It's kind of like if I get, sorry, Patrick, I think I've got it. Right. So it's like if Amazon.com, which I buy a lot of stuff through, they say, well, you couldn't convert. Oh, hang on. I had the illusion in my head for a second. If Amazon.com, as long as they accept what I have and I want to use Amazon.com, who cares what they don't take, as long as they take what I use?
Yeah, that's like if big companies like Amazon, Walmart were to accept Bitcoin, which is probably the most likely digital currency for them to accept because it's the most established currency. And if that were to happen, it would drastically change the game.
Well, like Expedia, sorry to cut you guys off. I was just thinking about taking a vacation with the fam, and I heard that Expedia was coming on to take Bitcoin. I was really excited, and they do it through Coinbase, which is like the Bitcoin bank for the United States. They're in California, and now they're going to accept a Bitcoin, so you can actually just pay them direct with Bitcoin to book hotels.
So Patrick, that's basically what you were saying is like they could cut it off, but what does it matter if I have a relationship, say, with these brands that are getting tossed about, Overstock or Expedia? What does it matter what currency they don't take if they take the currency that I have? Correct? Patrick?
Yeah, I mean, you're not converting it to dollars, right? So
Right.
I don't know. It's really hard to say what they can and cannot do. They can try really hard to make it so no one can use it, but I don't think the world is in the position where they're going to accept the government saying no, you can't do this. It's sort of we're at the point where we're connected to everything. They would have to pretty much shut down the entire internet to really stop something like that
We
from
also
happening.
have to watch the news out of California, as this week they were trying to pass a law and it went to the governor to try to make Bitcoin, instead of being a commodity, to be recognized maybe as currency. So we don't know if they have signed it. I haven't read up on the news, but they were trying to move the things along that route in California.
I thought it was very telling that Apple updated their terms of service on the day of WWDC to basically accept alternative forms of currency so long as they were seen as quote unquote legitimate, or I don't have the exact quote, but basically opening the door to cryptocurrency on iOS.
And one of the interesting things about all this, which is just it's counterintuitive because it really just hasn't existed before, as far as I know, is there's currency competition taking place in one nation, you know what I mean, or across the world as well. That's also interesting because, again, in that sense, it's kind of in a way the democratization of money, where you could have advancing technology in the form of a competition and in the marketplace, and what could ultimately happen is, which is essentially what is happening, is the consumers get the better end of the deal because they get a better technology or a better store of value, and the fees are lower, the system's more efficient, and so on.
So someone named Jason Kirby asked, are the VRC guys reading this? I have a question regarding fiat or credit cards in the wallet. What are the plans regarding licensing or fiat regulations and reporting? Very curious. So you had said basically that at some point in the near future you would allow people to use effectively like a credit card to buy VeriCoin. What are you doing to address any licensing or regulations regarding the
Yeah,
transactions?
so we're not going to be doing it directly. We're just going to be making it so it can happen in the wallet. There's another company that is getting involved. Some people may know who it is, some people may not, but it doesn't really matter at this point. They are licensed in the U.S. as a money exchanging service, and you're going to have to verify your identity, which is something that stinks, but that's just what you have to do with anything when you want to use real money. But it can be as simple as you importing an API key, basically username and password, into the wallet, and then boom, you have direct access to their service, which will give you instant buy instead of waiting 3 days for your money to go through in Coinbase to become Bitcoin, and then waiting for that money to transfer to an exchange to buy VeriCoin. This will happen immediately once you're approved. Now, we're not that company that's going to be doing it. We can't speak for them, but they seem to have their legal stuff down. I've seen a lot of legal documents from them. I don't think it's going to be a problem. On the other hand, we're not going to be running it. So all we can say is, there's this company offering this who will allow access in the wallet, but we're not that company. We can't tell you what they will and will not do. It's possible the company, maybe they'll go bankrupt one day, and then we'll have to remove their function in the wallet. Who really knows? But we figured the easier we can make it for someone to get into crypto, the more simple it is, the better for the whole community.
So then, and we're kind of a little beyond an hour, and I know that watching a live stream after it's live is not as exciting, but I think one of my last questions, if not the last question to cover today, because I'm sure there's going to be other conversations like this. I don't think this world is going to disappear, or the fascination is going to dissipate anytime soon. Why should someone today, right now, even before the ability to purchase directly through the functionality that's coming, the credit card transactions coming through a third party, a vendor, why would someone, or why should someone invest in this altcoin over another, or why should they invest in it right now at all?
All right, so just from a pure investment standpoint, The way I look at it is, you can be safe. You can put your $100 into a stock. You can put it into Apple, and maybe your $100 will be worth $120, maybe it'll be worth $150 in a year. The cool thing about crypto, and it's kind of bizarre, is there's so few people that know about it that the price can go up like crazy. And on the other hand, it's rare for it to go down that much. By that much, I mean you have the potential maybe to go down, by 50%, or maybe down by 75%. But that dollar, those $100 are never going to be worth $0. So you have to take a look at the cost-benefit analysis here. You have the potential of someone who put $1,000 into VeriCoin, a month ago, would have somewhere around $50,000 right now. The risk of that is maybe the $100 could have become $0, but or $1,000 could have become $0. But if they have that they can risk and they're willing to put it in, the chance of it becoming worth way more than it is much higher than the chance of it becoming worth $0. And really, cryptocurrencies are one of the few ways where you can turn a tiny bit of money into a ton of money. Right now, there's no way really to do it safely in the stock market unless you get into penny stocks, and a lot of those are just pure scams. So I think if you can find a coin you really like, and I'd love for everyone to get VeriCoin, but I know there's there's other coins out there, and I'm sure a lot of them are great.
To be fair, some coins are also scams, so do your research.
Right.
That's true. I think a coin like VeriCoin where the developers are public, you're probably less likely to be scammed because it will really hurt their image if they just disappear and walk away with all your money. One where they talk comprehensively about their plans, and you can see a little bit of progress at least. We released this mobile wallet, the SMS wallet, and the price was less than a fifth of what it is today. That would, if you saw us talk about it, and then saw us execute it, then maybe you could have the confidence to invest some money, and you still might be able to make 5 times what you originally put in. The chances are always there for you to lose some of your money. I doubt you're going to lose all of it. But the chances of you turning that money into a crap load of money, just a ridiculous amount of money, I think is pretty high in cryptocurrencies because everything's so new, so young. And you have the ability to do your own due diligence here, where you don't have to rely on big companies investing and changing the market price that way.